A senior Chinese official says Washington has decided to send a delegation to the Belt and Road Forum. The US becomes the latest on the list of 30 countries that will attend.
美方认识到中国“一带一路”倡议的重要性，将派出代表。
The U.S. has realized the importance of the Belt and Road Initiative, and it will send its delegation to the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Just as President Xi Jinping has said, the Chinese initiative is intended to benefit the world. The Belt and Road Initiative is open and tolerant.
Well, China and the US are making progress on their trade relationship under the Donald Trump administration. According to the US Commerce Department, China has agreed to allow greater access to US businesses, including agriculture and natural gas. CGTN's Nathan King has more.
At the Mar-a-Lago summit last month between Donald Trump and President Xi Jinping, both leaders agreed to a 100-day review of US-China trade. And according to the US Commerce Department here in Washington, progress has already been made. According to officials, the US and China have agreed in broad principle to allow US energy supplies of liquefied natural gas to enter Chinese markets. The export of energy is a high priority for the Trump administration, and because of hydraulic fracturing or fracking, there are large supplies of liquid natural gas building up in the US ready for export. It is a boom industry and they want China to be part of it. Also, agreement in other broad terms in other sectors, including agriculture. No words yet on a US priority, which would to get China to lift its ban on US beef. We also understand that there is progress being made on access to each other's capital markets as well. What is clear is that the feeling of confrontation of the presidential campaign of 2016 here and the anti-China trade bashing has given way to a climate of negotiation between the two sides. We're expecting, according to the US Commerce Department, to some sort of joint communique in the coming days or weeks. Nathan King, CGTN, Washington.
So, as we've been hearing, Beijing is hosting the first Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation on Sunday and Monday. 29 heads of state and government leaders will attend. World leaders are now arriving in the Chinese capital. One of them is the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Hailemariam Desalegn. Ethiopia is one of the biggest recipients of Chinese investment in Africa. It's also a valuable partner for China in economic cooperation on agriculture, energy and technology. Meanwhile, the President of the Czech Republic, Miloš Zeman, and the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras also arrived earlier this morning. The President Zeman hailed the Belt and Road Initiative as the greatest infrastructure project to be undertaken. He said he's looking forward to building greater connectivity between China and the Czech Republic. Tsipras is scheduled to meet with leading government officials in his bid to further strengthen ties and to promote Greece to become China's main entry point into Europe. Well, China's State Council Information Office has briefed the media this morning on production capacity details along the Belt and Road route. The Vice Chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission, Ning Zhezhe, said since 2003, China's international investments have reached $60 billion. Ning said China has many technological and financial advantages to share. He said Belt and Road countries can benefit from shared resources by strengthening infrastructure cooperation. Ning called for an institutionalized cooperation system and a continuously improving policy that promotes investment.
The amount of our international investment in the next 5 years could reach to as high as $120 billion to $130 billion, and most of the fund will go to Belt and Road countries. This is a steady push for a recovery of the world economy and a great impetus to mutual investment and trade.
Well, India hasn't yet decided whether it will participate in China's Belt and Road Initiative. India's main bone of contention is the Pakistan-China corridor, which passes through areas India stakes a claim to. Experts believe further high-level dialogue should resolve the issue and that security concerns shouldn't obstruct economic and social development in the region. Shweta Bajaj has more.
The Belt and Road Initiative is being touted as the world's most ambitious economic integration project ever undertaken. Chinese President Xi Jinping says its aim is to connect Asia, Africa and Europe through land and maritime trade routes. And although it's expected to connect as many as 65 nations, India is not yet convinced. India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Neither can the Belt Road Initiative ignore India, nor can India ignore the initiative. Experts say it's only dialogue that can lead to trust and eventually to a consensus. India's issue is with the China-Pakistan corridor that passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. However, economist Ajit Ranade says that whilst this may be a legitimate concern, India cannot let it get in the way of regional development.
It's about infrastructure, connectivity and tremendous opportunities for investment as well as employment. In that context, I'd like to mention that the India-China bilateral relationship, the bilateral economic relationship itself is a very dynamic and fast-growing relationship. So if you put that in the context, I think there are huge opportunities.
China is the world's largest tourism source market, yet not even 1 in 200 Chinese visit India. Experts say tourism will pick up if infrastructure improves, and that can be a product of the Belt and Road Initiative. There are also other potential growth points, such as pharmaceuticals and IT services. Over the past few years, we have seen a significant increase in Chinese foreign direct investment in India, but their trade deficit is still a concern. More open regional markets will also help Indian exports and really boost Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Made in India initiative. The head of the Observer Research Foundation, Sudhindra Kulkarni, says political and security concerns have to be ironed out to capitalize on all these opportunities.
As two large nations, ancient civilizations of Asia, India and China, we have to talk and we have to cooperate. Even though Belt and Road Initiative is an initiative of China, it is not exclusively owned by China, which means that it is multilateral, it is inclusive, it is consultative, and therefore I feel quite optimistic that in the time to come, with more dialogue, with more consultation, India will participate in the Belt and Road Initiative.
So the web of connectivity that the Belt and Road Initiative weaves certainly creates its own set of unique challenges. But it also impacts 65 countries, 4.4 billion people, and nearly a third of the world's GDP. Indian experts believe there's little to be gained economically from investing in the China-Pakistan corridor. Yet, they're also quietly aware that indulging the country's Look East policy and favoring China where it can might be worth it in the long run. Shweta Bajaj, CGTN, Mumbai, India.
Well, the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation will begin this Sunday. Forum organisers have established a media centre at the China National Convention Centre in Beijing Olympic Park to facilitate media coverage. The centre, covering a floor space of 10,000 square metres, is committed to delivering efficient services to journalists from all over the world. Well, our DC correspondent Sean Calebs is in Beijing to cover the Belt and Road Forum, and he's at the media centre. So Sean, tell us a bit more about exactly where you are.
Well, I think that you really hit the nail on the head. We're in the middle of the, I guess what was the Olympic venue site. So driving here, it was kind of like a little history lesson for someone who's not from this wonderful city. And once you get inside, then you're exactly right. The welcome mat has been rolled out, and organizers want the number of journalists to get as much information as they can. So right when you walk in, you can grab a book like this that talks about the Belt and Road, the win-win cooperation. Then there's another one, the Belt and Road Initiative. And for people like me who aren't from here, you can pick up something like this, an official guidebook for Beijing. So everything is all set here. It's a very roomy facility, set out very wonderfully. But right now, it's not very crowded. There are only a couple of hundred journalists who have registered and are here right now, scrambling around trying to find the best story they can. But they expect some 4,000 journalists to cram into this site in the coming 24 to 48 hours. So it is going to get very busy here, and rightfully so. If you think about the old Silk Road and the impact that it had on indeed the entire world, Europe, Asia, opening up the nation, and what we're seeing could be very much a rebirth of this from an economic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. I think there's a great deal of excitement, a lot of unknown. People want to come here and they want to get as much information as they can, because as this moves forward, it really could be the economic linchpin, if you will, the global accelerator that drives the economy for decades to come.
Sean, I think I might borrow that guidebook when you finish with it, but for now you say there's something like 4,000 reporters expected there at this media centre. Do you know what they will focus on? How are they going to be reporting this back home?
It's interesting because I have had a chance to speak to a couple of people, a gentleman from Spain, and I think that the politicians, the legislators, if you will, the diplomats, they know a certain amount about this. And of course, China does, something that was unveiled here in 2013. But there's a lot of information that people want to absorb. They want to find out how the infrastructure is going to work. As the old Silk Road just opens up, as well as the maritime routes. It's something very exciting. I heard the report just before me talk just about the GDP and the tremendous economic impact this is going to happen. But what people want to know specifically, how it's going to work. What is it going to do to our nation? What is it going to do to our continent? Those are the kind of questions that we're hearing right now. So it's just been the surface scratched, if you will, but there is a great deal of information right at people's fingertips, and it's going to be interesting to see how this is unveiled. You're talking about dozens of nations, hundreds of diplomats, trillions of dollars, all of this coming together in the next 72 hours. It's going to be very exciting, and I, for one, am thrilled to be here to watch this unfold. It truly is history in the making.
It's good to have you here, Sean Caleb's over at the Olympic Park in Beijing. For now, thank you very much.